Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. My name's Daddo.
I'm Daddo.
Yes, you are. Now, Elle and I are on holidays at the moment.
Yep.
We thought we'd put together a bit of a best of.
Yes. So we thought we'd put together an interesting take on all of the overcoming challenges and the dealing with conflicts that couples have worked with. And we've talked a lot about that just with you and I. And the couples that we've had, I've got some really good tips to share with people and what they've done in order to help themselves.
Yep, you'll hear from Justin and Kylie Coulson.
Yeah, now Justin has gone on since our podcast to host an amazing show called Parental Guidance. You guys might have watched that. He's a relationship parent expert, and he shares some really intimate details of what he went through to overcome obstacles as a young dad.
You should be able to catch that on Channel 9, actually.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right, well, let's dive in. Sam and Cameron Bloom have had to overcome a lot, so let's get started with their story. Do you think, now that what you know in terms of what you've been through and everything, do we make our fears real? Have you ever thought about that?
No.
Good question. Huh?
Yeah, no. I've never thought about that.
Why was it your fear?
Because I used to be active, and like I guess for me, like losing your mobility was like, you know, it's like that is a horrible thing to happen. Yeah, and I know. It's so frustrating. I think I could have dealt with a lot of other things better, not spinal.
Ah, okay.
I think. You know, I think for me though, spinal, it's kind of like, it's like that's it. You don't get better. That's what if I knew that 5-10 years time your body will recover and you will heal again, then I'd be fine with it. I mean, I'd still not like it, but I'd be like, okay, I can do this. But it's the fact that it's kind of like, that's it. Like, you don't get better. You're not sick. You just have to live with it.
Based on the fact that this was a fear of yours, I'll ask both of you this, or just put it out there to all of us. What can we learn from our fears?
Oh, I think maybe that we are actually more courageous than we think we are. That's what I've learned. Don't you think?
I love that.
That you can get through your worst nightmare, you know, with help, obviously. I couldn't have done it without like all the support that I've had. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I would agree that I've seen Sam like at like just the lowest and the most, you know, you never want to see your loved one the way I've seen, you know, like Sam. And just at the point of giving up everything and like, you know, crying and just, I can't do this, I hate this, I hate everything.
I wish I was dead.
Yeah, I hate everything about me, you know. And then to see, you know, that incredible image of Sam hoisted on top of the surfboard with her kids, our kids, you know, watching Sam, it's making me get a bit teary. Yeah. You know, just seeing that change is incredible. And, you know, that's when you know that you kind of do need to be courageous and you can make it.
And do you, Cam, feel like there was a before and after the accident for your life? Has a lot of things changed for you after Sam's accident?
There was like my life before?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would easily say our lives became incredibly different from that moment Sam fell.
Yeah.
But it hasn't changed, you know, like our relationship at all, other than, you know, we often say we've kind of got closer, you know.
Yeah.
We've had to.
Yeah. And when Sam was at her lowest, what was the thing that helped Sam the most? Like, were you able to help her? Were there words? Was there action? Were the boys able to help? How did you get her through that?
Yeah, I think making things possible. Like, you know, like if Sam said she didn't want to do whatever it was, I'd not force her, but I would.
Well, I couldn't run away, could I?
No. But I would persist.
Yeah.
And because I knew in my heart that if we got there or if we did that, it would be mostly an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
There were a few moments when things backfired, but I think you can't give up, and you got to try, all those sort of things. And I think I was lucky. We kind of got into exercise. Like Sam would have probably thought, like, Christ, what am I going to do? How can I do anything if I can't move? But Sam's got her arms, and at first it was a personal trainer that volunteered his time. And after going, I just remember seeing her eyes light up. And he really got stuck into Sam and didn't. He was
awesome.
Yeah, he just didn't take any shit from her, and was like, it was cool. Like, don't come here, grumpy. Like, it was tough.
Yeah,
and it was such good therapy.
Yeah,
it was actually more therapy than exercise.
It was more therapy because we would talk. I would talk to Craig about everything, suicide, you name it, and we'd talk about it. And like Cam said, and I did. I remember on so many days I'd be like, no, Cam, I don't want to go. Because I was kind of embarrassed, because Cam would have to take me. And then all the mums, because he was in Avalon, and all the mums would finish training with Craig and they'd all come out, and I didn't want to see them to see me having to be lifted out of a car and put in a wheelchair and kind of taken down. So I'd always be like, no, I don't want to go. And then Cam was like, no, you're going.
Yeah, but it was also because you didn't want to see them in their little lycra shorts.
No, but I didn't know, because it was also because it was like, I was looking at my old life.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Hard not to compare though, right?
I was like, I don't want to see
jealousy.
that because I know it was. Then I hate that. I've never been like a jealous person, but I was envious of them.
Yeah.
It's like, that's fun for you guys. You can run around and go to, have your gym session and then go into Avalon and all catch up. And I knew I could not do that.
Yeah.
And I was envious of them for sure. But I am glad Cam made me go. Because, like you said, I always felt so much better afterwards.
Such an interesting chat. Here's Emmy and Sabir Samtani. You've got 2 kids with special needs.
Yes.
So tell us about what's that about for them?
Yeah, so with my eldest daughter, when she was 12 months old, she was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis, which there's not a lot of knowledge about out there. In fact, we just had an awareness campaign. It's, it's more common than something like cystic fibrosis, but no one's ever heard about it. So it's a neurological condition which affects kids very differently. So it could be that some children get tumours on the nerve ending. So they could be, little lumps and bumps all over their body, could be internal tumours, eyesight, but then there's a whole series of other things like learning and social behaviour, that type of thing. So with us at the moment, Ishki's very fortunate we don't have any tumours or anything, thankfully. But we are navigating things from, say, attention and focus at school. So it's not an IQ thing. It really is about supporting her, knowing that she needs a little bit of extra support, with her learning. But then there's so many unknowns. I mean, we just don't know how it's going to end for her because it can change at any given time. But I think I'm pretty practical about the whole thing, whereas Sabir, I know he always talks about the fact that, it really rocked him when he found out because, she was only 12 months old and I think that was his safe house. This is my child. I can control what happens at home. And then, boom, at that stage, at that age, they're so little. So,
But I think overall she's safe. It's not, life-threatening. It's none of that at the moment. Who knows what'll happen down the track, but everything seems fine. And she's wild. She's,
very creative.
Very creative. You can't really, unless you know the learning difficulty, it's just those little things that you see. So it's just the extra effort that we need to put into her that I guess the outside wouldn't be able to see as much. That takes that more effort. But honestly, Emmy is, I know everyone's biased, but she's a bit of a machine with how she juggles that and the business and, all of that together is, I'd say she does most of the work.
You've just got to be practical about it. I think I always live by the motto, you can't get upset about things you can't change.
Yeah.
So we're aware, we reach for information when we need to and we just support her the best way possible.
Yeah. How has that ever affected your relationship? Has that ever been a challenge with the both of you? I think
it's made us stronger together, definitely. And it's made us tighter as a family. And I feel you always have I think, as a parent, you really want to protect your kids. But I think her going through that and then our youngest one and us being thrown all these challenges has just made us tighter as a family. And the way we manage her, because we can't, for example, she might throw a tantrum, So she might go up, but it's hard to bring her down.
She can't regulate.
She can't regulate.
Right.
And so
It's an adrenal thing too?
It's almost like, so a large percentage of kids with NF have ADHD. So if you can imagine symptoms of a girl having ADHD where they can control it at school or in public, so she can, you know, she's driven to learn. She wants to be there. She can conform at school, but then when she's home, she almost unleashes. So she finds it very hard to regulate. It's But
because we have to, so we can't get angry. You know, it's not. We approach it in a very different way.
Yeah.
We have to talk to her because we know part of it is not her. I mean, it's never a child's fault.
No.
When they're 2 or they're 3, and if they are having a tantrum, it's because they want the attention.
Yep.
And so, but the way we work with her is now helping us with how we approach our other kids.
Right.
And
we actually say that we must have ended up in the business of kindred for a reason, because I've been so informed the whole way. We've worked with incredible experts. I don't know if we would have picked up on so many things, even with our youngest, had we have not had access to these people. And I just feel very fortunate. We work with child behaviour experts, for example. So it definitely has made us tighter as a family unit because we are both on board with how we approach situations like that. And it's interesting. I always do laugh about what the neighbours might think about the chick that sells child behaviour courses, and then my 3 kids are going in different directions, and, you know, it gets a bit crazy sometimes.
It's a little bit like us that we have a relationship podcast, and sometimes our relationship is crap. It's a little bit like that, isn't it?
And this classic moment from a great chat from Justin and Kylie Coulson.
I'm learning how to become a better parent. I'm learning psychology, but I'm not actually doing much of it at home. Kylie's doing it all, raising the family, while I'm doing the schoolwork and the financial work. And I remember one night I got back from uni. It would have probably been 8:30 in the evening. As I've walked into the house, not only is every light on, but the kids, I think we had 3 of them at the time, the kids were running around, just going nuts. They were fighting. The house was a mess. There were dishes in the sink. Everything was not as it should be, quote unquote. And I know that it's really tempting as a breadwinner or as the person who's out slaying the wild beasts for dinner or whatever it is that we do. It's really tempting to say, what have you been doing all day? But because I'd done 4 years of psychology by then, I kind of knew that was not going to be the best question to ask.
Good call, Dad.
Smart.
Good call.
He's learnt well. Yeah.
But
So I didn't actually let him say anything. He walked in the door and
Kylie glared at me.
I just looked at him and I said, you need to take these kids now and I need to go.
Yep.
So Kylie walked out of the kitchen into the bedroom, closed the door with some emphasis. and I remember standing there and going, moment of truth, buddy. What are you going to do now? So I walked over to the kids, and they were not easily softened. They were pretty hyped up. But within about 90 seconds, the kids were calm and quiet and peaceful. And I reckon about 5 minutes later, they were in bed and asleep. Like, I just nailed it, Ali. I nailed it because I came in, like, our emotions, whether we're talking about a couple relationship or with our kids, our emotions are contagious. And kids will catch our chaos, and they'll catch our cranky, and they'll catch our crazy, but they'll also catch our calm.
Absolutely.
And I knew in that moment that I had to be calm. I just had to be so level. The other thing that I talk about all the time when I'm talking to parents about this stuff is that high emotions equals low intelligence. Like, the more emotional we are, you've probably had this even with each other. Have you ever noticed that the angrier you are, the more right you are?
Well, yes, and that's been part of me, is trying to giving up the need to be right and catching myself on that need to be right. It doesn't work.
Yeah. So I just knew in that moment, if I caught what Kylie and the kids had, the night was going to go downhill really, really fast.
Yep.
And so I kept it level and balanced. I kept my intelligence in my head rather than sending it out the window. Within a few minutes, the kids were down, and then I just set about cleaning up the kitchen, and I figured I'll have dinner at 11 o'clock tonight, whatever, I'll deal with it. And I knew that Kylie had a lousy day. After about maybe 30 or 40 minutes of doing the best that I could in the house, I went into the bedroom, and instead of saying, well, I've done this and I've done this, look at me, aren't I noble? And instead of saying, I can't believe what happened tonight, and launching into either police or prosecutor or preacher mode, I remember saying to Kylie something along the lines of, seems like you had a really tough day today. And that was about it. I said, do you feel like talking about it? And I think at that point, Kylie burst into tears.
Like we're crying now. Wow, what a simple thing to say, but so powerful, so meaningful. Yeah.
And I guess for me, sitting in the bedroom, at the time, our second oldest, she was 2, and she was a really emotionally needy child, and she pretty much cried all day. She was at my feet all day, and I just took every bit of, kind of energy and self-restraint to not hurt her, because I just wanted the noise to stop.
Yeah.
And so when he walked in, it was like, you need to take them, because I can't do this anymore. And when I went into the bedroom and I closed the door and I just obviously listened to the chaos die in the house, I overheard him literally get down to my 2-year-old's level and just say to her, "You've had a hard day." And she burst into tears, gave him a big cuddle, and everything calmed down. Yeah. And in my head at that time, it was like, are you telling me all I had to do was tell her that she was having a hard day and everything would have stopped? But in the moment, it was so overwhelming, and
Absolutely.
I felt, completely helpless to know how to make it right, because nothing I was doing was making it right.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time I kind of realised that clearly there was something in the things that he was learning, and there was a need for me to sit up and actually listen.
We just loved this couple, and what a life story. Here's Richard Glover and Debra Oswald. Does that still play a part within your relationship, the challenges of your childhood? Does that sort of ever undermine the relationship in any way?
Yeah. I think one of the sort of weird things about pedophiles is, and I think this is probably true of all of them, is that the way they operate is they destroy your self-confidence, so that you've got no protection against them. You've got no weapons left to protect yourself. So they kind of basically run you down. That's the way they operate. And I think that has left me incredibly overly sensitive to criticism. That when I hear criticism. And so, I think the worst part of me being a partner to Debra is she'll make some completely reasonable observation. Could you not put the fry pan in that top cupboard because I can't reach it? Which I will hear as, you're no good as a husband or even as a human being.
And then I can be reasonable for a while, and then I arc up as if I'm being told that I'm a terrible, maybe because I've got a mother who's very negative and criticising people all the time, that me being characterised as a very negative, critical person, I think that's not fair, that's not what I was saying. I think one method that we've developed is that when Richard's in that mood for whatever reason, usually because of outside pressure, just let it sit. Don't feel you need to have it all out at the time. I know that maybe goes against something. And then quite often, like sometimes on a Friday, he's really tired at the end of a week of the radio. And so some minor thing he'll respond with. It's not even responding inappropriately, wrongly. It's about responding with a kind of emotional fuel that's too great for the moment.
Yes, yeah.
And so sometimes I just say, this is Friday talking. This is Friday evening talking. Make no assessments of the world or your life at this time. And sometimes there's a question of letting him be cranky with me, and then in the morning, on Saturday morning.
I'm not cranky with you, I'm hurt. Wounded, because what I've heard is you saying that I'm a terrible person, even though she hasn't said that at all.
And so I just say, that's not what I said. I just try to, sometimes you have to.
Just want the fry pan put in the lower cupboard.
Sometimes you just have to say all the positive things that don't seem to be going into the person's head, but they sit on the external part of the brain and they will seep in.
Yep.
Once the cortisol levels, once the stress hormones have reduced, the things you've said will be recalled and will enter the working parts of the brain.
Yes.
And then in the morning, I mean, this is a rare thing. I'm not talking about something that happens every Friday. Yeah. Then sometimes on a Saturday morning, Richard will say, I'm sorry, I was unreasonable last night. And then it's over.
Yeah.
Because I think if you understand where something's coming from in another person, then you don't take it personally. I say that like that's easy to do. It's really hard to do. Yeah. And I'm still learning how to do that in the world with people.
I think a lot of people can and will relate to what you just said.
Absolutely.
Richard, I'm exactly the same. is that, and to use your analogy of the fry pan, it's like, it's just a fry pan. We're talking about a fry pan and putting it in a cupboard. We're not talking about how you are as a man.
No, I think in your case, the fry pan decision does reflect on wider issues.
See, now I'm hurt.
Exactly. I'm glad you see through it all, Richard. This is true.
Evil man. Alrighty, Elle and I will be back next week with another one from the vault. Hope you're having a fantastic summer.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time.